Hello, thank you for participating in GDOT's SUE checklist training. My name is Aisha Motri and I manage the SUE program for the state. Our team hope you find this training useful. Our goal is to provide guidance and further context on deliverable submission expectations. During this training, we will discuss overall standard changes, updates for each quality levels, beginning with QOD, C, QLB, UIA, and QLAs. Then we will discuss SUE performance evaluations and department updates. Now I would like to hand it over to Mr. Raymond Chandler to discuss overall standard updates.
Good morning. My name is Raymond Chandler, and I work for Surveying and Mapping, and I am a consultant assisting the Sioux Group, and I am a reviewer in that group. So this morning I will be covering the overall Sioux checklist changes and also some specific Qual over D checklist updates. So to begin, we have 4 changes on the first page of the checklist. The first change is we've added a sentence to the first paragraph, and it states that the checklist is not all-inclusive and should be used as a standard submission guide. The next change is we have a new person in our group as well, that person is a subsurface utilities review assistant, and this person should be you should submit your deliverables to this person along with the state Sioux utility engineer and also all the reviewers. And then finally, for the interim checklist, you do not have to submit them. However, if you have comments that need to be addressed, you must submit that checklist for review prior to the final deliverable. The next overall change is on the Sioux plan set on the cover sheet. If you are one of our on-call Sioux consultants, we ask that you provide the master contract number, the task order number, and the job order number in the title block. And now I'm going to transition to the Sioux Qual Level D deliverable checklist updates. So the first update is on the first page. We're asking for you to provide the date of the in-field visual site inspection date, and this is going to be the final date that you are in the field collecting data for this deliverable. The next change is for each Sioux deliverable submittal, we ask for you to provide all of the CAD, DGN files or image files used and created for the Sioux investigation. And we also want you to provide when you provide a final deliverable, we must get a complete package of the PDFs. We do not want you to provide individual PDF sheets, but all of them combined into one PDF. Okay, the next change is on the cover sheet. We want you to provide the LOS line style should be at the same scale as the cover sheet, and this is specifically for legibility. And this change also applies to quality level C and quality level B deliverables. The next change is on the general note sheet, and in our general notes Sioux investigation description, we ask you to provide the quality level that was performed. So in this case, you will add qual level D in the sentence, in the first sentence. And this also applies to quality level C, qual level D, qual level B, and also quality level A investigations. The next change is on your SUE utility plan sheets. We would like you to provide extra cut sheets only if the utilities are within the LOS, beyond that cut sheet. So you, we usually have the LOS that extends beyond the sheets, and you don't have to provide a sheet unless the utilities are within the LOS on that next connecting sheet. All right, we have some additional changes on general requirements. The first one is we would like you to graphically connect and break buried utilities to the center of the attached appurtenances. And we also want you to use continuous utility line segments between these appurtenances. Then the other change is when bridges are on your project, we want you to show the approximate locations where the utilities are attached to a bridge, and then clearly label them, these locations, as utility attached to bridge to make it clear. Another change to for the sanitary, we ask you to, when connecting sanitary sewer manholes beyond the cut sheet, we want you to label the outside manhole ID and display an arrow in the direction of that manhole outside of the cut sheet. And we have an example of this on the next slide. And then for the overhead utility lines, we want you to graphically connect and break overhead lines to the center of the poles. And similar to the underground, we want these lines to be continuous line segments between the poles. Then one other change for the qual level D is the guy anchors that's associated with the pole must be the same color as the pole. And as I stated earlier, this is how we want you to show the connecting manhole label. So you see we have the label, then we have it stating to, and then the manhole ID of that next connecting manhole. And it's also would be helpful if you would, on the connecting sheet, show a line pointing in the opposite direction and showing where it connects to on this on the main connecting sheet. Okay, the next qual level D change is when for the pole owners on the general notes sheet, the primary owner, we would like you to label them as unless otherwise noted for their note. And then for the secondary owners, we want you to note them as noted in the plans. And then the other change is the utility owners list is no longer an option to be excluded. We just made it a part of the checklist. And this applies to qual level C and qual level B deliverables. And I'll show you an example of that at the end of this presentation. The other change that we've made is for pressurized water, gas, and sanitary sewer force mains. We would like you to clearly label any high pressure lines. And this, we're trying to be in conjunction with the ASCE 3822 requirements. The other change is that we would like you to show customized line styles for buried facilities 24 inches and larger. These larger or rare pipe sizes, also the ducts, um, we don't have those line styles included in our line style library, so we want you to use two parallel lines to display the size of that one utility. On this next slide, I'll show you an example of that. So this is how we want you to show the rare pipe sizes or duct banks that are 24 inches or larger. You see this first example is one 24-inch width telephone duct bank, and you see that we use the quad level D telephone line style, and we do a copy parallel of 2 feet for that distance, and then we have a leader line to both of those lines, so it would be clear that both of these lines refer to the same utility. These are not two separate utilities. In the second example, you see it going into a manhole, and when these two lines get to the manhole, you must angle those lines to the center of that appurtenance. And you see that these lines are also broken at that appurtenance. And then we have the final example at the bottom is a quad level B electric line. It's one 54-inch width electric duct bank. And you see these lines, when they get to the manhole, the lines are inserted a vertex to connect to the center of that manhole or appurtenance. And these electric lines are set 54 inches apart. And this is how we expect any pipe or duct bank that is 24 inches or larger to be displayed now. Okay, this is the checklist, the utility owner table for the checklist, and this is going to be standard for quad level B, quad level C, and quad level D deliverables. And you notice that we are asking for the date that the records were received, and then we also ask you for the installation date for that facility. The installation date, if the utility has multiple facilities on the project, then you can provide the latest date that the facility was installed instead of multiple different dates for the installation date. This change applies to quality level C and quality level D deliverables. And finally, I can't leave you without providing a acronym to use in your day-to-day SUE assignments. So the one today is WYSIWYG, WYSIWYZ. And WYSIWYZ means what you see is what you show. So whether you're in the field or you have records that you're looking at, what you see in the field and what you see on the records, please show in your deliverable for quad level D. Thank you.
My name is Corbin Edwards, and I'm with Sam in the GDOT SUE office. I'm a SUE reviewer at the GO. Today in this training, I'm going to discuss the checklist updates to the QLC and QLB checklist. First, I'll cover the sanitary sewer section of the checklist. And at the top of the slide, you can see we have crossed out the recommendation to contact the state subsurface utility engineer for directions when encountering combination sewer systems, and instead provided guidance on how to proceed when encountering those systems. First is connecting storm drainage pipes inverts should be properly labeled with remaining gravity sewer inverts. Any and all missing drainage pipes from the topo file should be shown as default within the UTLE, and our team will provide to the State Location Bureau for correction. And lastly, do not duplicate the top elevations for drainage structures within the UTLE file. At the bottom of the slide, we also provided some guidance on how to proceed when tops and inverts cannot be obtained from the field survey during the investigation. It is the SUE professional's responsibility to coordinate with the utility owner to identify and expose inaccessible manholes and coordinate with the district utilities office regarding the manhole adjustment if needed from the utility owner. And also be sure to document the level of effort made to locate the inaccessible manholes in the signature page of the checklist. Next, in the sanitary sewer section, we have revised how sewer connectivity from inside the LOS to the next connecting sewer structure outside of the LOS is shown, and this now only pertains to gravity sewer instead of both gravity and force main. And this also applies for sewer structures crossing the LOS from outside of the LOS to outside the LOS. We also added instructions on how this should look in the UTLE file when the connecting sewer manhole is beyond the cut sheet. Label the outside manhole ID and display arrow and direction of manhole beyond sheet limits. Next is the overhead utilities section of the checklist. And the first three highlighted bullet points are comments that you've probably seen in some of your submittals, and now these comments have been added to the checklist. First is to graphically connect and break overhead lines to the center of poles. Ensure continuous utility line segments between poles. When the connecting pole is beyond the cut sheet, label the outside pole ID and display arrow in direction of pole beyond sheet limits. And we're now also requiring to add guy anchors to the miscellaneous column of the pole data table. And also to display guy anchor colors as the same as the associated pole color. Next, in the overhead utilities section of the checklist, we have provided examples of miscellaneous details to include in the data table. These are cameras, light poles, head facilities, and cabinets. And we also removed the point of attachment section of the checklist, as this was rarely included in the scope of work for submittals that we received.
Hello, I am Kyle Griffin, and I am a GDOT SUE reviewer. I will be going over the changes that were made to the UIA deliverables checklist, as well as the conflicts matrix spreadsheet, and the SUE QLA deliverables checklist for the same consultant that completed the QLB investigation. Only changes that were made to the UIA deliverables checklist is for a PID project. If you see the third checkbox, the double asterisk is for the PID, and a note for the PID changed to not include non-fiber pull boxes in the UIA submittal. And moving on to the GDOT conflicts matrix spreadsheet, if you look at the red text, that's what was added. On number 4, we have now specified to record the station and offset to the 10th decimal place. This is for compliance with the ASE 38. Number 8, we've added additional guidance there as far as the cut or fill over facility. So if it's 1 foot of cut or more over all utilities, or 5 foot or more fill over gas and water. Number 11 is regarding PID projects. So if it is a PID project, the SUE professional is required to fill out the cost column on the UIA spreadsheet. Number 14, conflicts that has a range of 10 foot or less should use one conflict circle at the center of the conflict range. Number 14, a utility with multiple conflicts should use a unique conflict number. An example of that would be that if a telecom has a range of conflicts that include drainage, cut and fill, or guardrail, there should be 3 separate conflict numbers for each item. Utilities within 2 foot of proposed drainage structures or features, guardrail, 10 foot of proposed walls, and 5 foot of proposed strain poles or sign poles should be included in the UIA submittal. All the information that I just previously went over on the conflicts matrix spreadsheet was provided in the UIA training. So if you would like access to that UIA training, there's a voiceover video to that. Just get with one of our team members and we'll be glad to provide that for you. We are now moving on to the SUE QLA deliverables checklist. If you're the same consultant that completed the QLB investigation, there are 3 new sections to the QLA checklist, and those sections are the test hole tables, test hole forms, and the SUE CSV file. So the first change that was made to the checklist for the QLA is regarding the final package. It is now specified that the PDFs shall be 11 by 17s. And the second item there just pretty much specifies that if there is multiple test hole tables, that you are required to sign and seal each individual test hole table within the plan set. Now we will go over to the SUE test hole forms, the general requirements for those. This is a complete new add to the checklist. So the first item states to provide test hole certification forms as one complete PDF package and record a file name as the PI number _ test hole forms. Ensure to use the GDOT test hole form cell. Refer to the GDOT cell library for access. Elevation of top and bottom of utility tied to datum of finished furnished plans. Bottom elevation required for larger facilities. Examples of those facilities would be ducts and pipes, larger 24 inches and larger. Record outside diameter of pipes or width of duct banks. Utility structures, material, compositions, and condition. Record top of each utility in one test hole form when multiple utilities are found. Separate each utility using letters A, B, and C. Record appropriate test hole details in the remarks section of the test hole form. Details should include, but not limited to, the appropriate utility details for each structure when multiple utilities are found, level of effort to identify found unknown utilities, level of effort to locate target utility for dry holes, and test hole anomalies. Record actual depth for dry holes. This will be the depth that the test hole was actually excavated to, not including the probe depth. Ensure plan view shown is from DGN design files to include the following, but not limited to, at scale plans with the appropriate scale bar to match the project plan sheet scale. A north arrow, proposed conflict scale back, current SUE data to match the updated investigation findings, and a legend or acronyms list to match the project general notes list. 3 pictures are now required for each test hole form. You will see those in the test hole cell DGN that is in the cell library that was previously mentioned. The first picture will be the ground location prior to excavation. So you'll take a picture of the stake or chisel or whatever you use to mark out the test hole location. The second picture will be a measured view, which will be your measuring rule down in the hole to show the depth of the facility. And the last picture will be the utility exposed. You can also use your rule down inside the test hole with the picture to capture the width of the facility. And lastly, cross-section view reflects the found conditions. Moving on to the general note sheet, it is now required for the SUE consultant to include the investigation date and their name in the general note on the 24A sheet. The SUE legend sheet, 24B, you are to use the legend used during the approved QLB investigation and select the appropriate quality level of the investigation. So you will change that little box that's around the QLB and move it down to the QLA. Go over the requirements for the test hole table or test hole tables if there's multiple tables. So the test hole tables will come after the pole data tables. That'll be the lettered sheets in the plan set. So record outside diameter of pipe or width of duct banks. Record top of each utility in one row within the test hole table when multiple utilities are found. Separate each utility using letters A, B, and C, and so on. Ensure that these letters match the way that they were identified and marked on the test hole forms. Utility structure material. Record appropriate date in the note column of the test hole form. Details should match the remarks from the test hole form. Record actual depth for dry holes and record test hole completion date. Requirements. The items that you see that have been struck through have just been relocated to a separate section or different section of the QLA checklist. So they haven't been removed, they've just been relocated. But we'll go over some of the changes or the additions rather. So if you look at number 3, ensure the test hole information has the following. So we've added horizontal location related to project coordinate datum, updated found utility size, we have a nominal and outside diameter, nominal for water, gas, and sewer, nominal and outside diameter for telecom, TV, traffic control, and electric. Updated design line work, designated work found during the QLA investigation, and utility structural materials. Next to the last item, so ensure that your test hole text are legible and are not overlapping. So you can adjust the test hole text if you need to, but just ensure that you're using the proper method to gather your coordinates for the test hole cell, because if you adjust your text and then regroup them, certain methods won't actually give you the true coordinates of the test hole cell itself. And the last item, ensure all utilities are accurately depicted to match field conditions within the DGN when multiple utilities are found. And lastly, the CSV file. The general requirements for those are to ensure that the coordinates match the test hole coordinates, ensure the feature codes are adequately recorded per continuous utility line segment, record outside diameter of pipes, record top and bottom of large pipes and ducts in separate rows with the appropriate feature code. Record top of each utility in separate rows within the CSV table when multiple utilities are found. Ensure the feature codes comply with the letters used in the test hole form and table. And as previously mentioned, you can use the letters to identify those. So an example would be SUTOP A, SUTOP B, and SUTOP C. Record utility structure, material, composition, and condition. Exclude dry holes from the CSV file. And the appropriate acronyms are used to match the plan set and the deliverables checklist. Now, all the changes that are all the additions, like the SUE CSV table requirements and the test hole tables and the test hole forms that were added here to the deliverables checklist, all those items were previously mentioned in some QLA training that we provided back in April. And if you would like access to that, just get with any of our team members and we'll be glad to provide that training for you.
Hello, I'm Courtney Lovelace, the State Subsurface Utility Review Assistant, and I will be covering the SUE QLA checklist when completed by a different consultant and performance evaluations. Many of the changes covered in the previous SUE QLA checklist apply to this checklist also, but I will be covering the differences that only apply to this checklist when completed by a different consultant. The SUE QLB performed only during this investigation must be included in the QLA.dgn file. Some of the changes for the test hole forms. The independent SUE QLA data, including all designated line work, the test hole cells, and any text completed during this QLA investigation, should be included. Do not include any SUE data performed by a different consultant. Some of the changes for the test hole table include documenting the SUE QLA investigation date and the consultant name, and including a note that states the existing SUE QLB utility information has not been updated by you, the consultant completing the QLA, to reflect any information found during the QLA investigation. Some of the general requirement changes include information that has been relocated within this checklist, and also a note to include any designated line work done during the QLA investigation. Now, moving on to the SUE performance evaluations. GDOT works to be transparent, fair, and consistent with all performance evaluations. For all SUE deliverables submitted and reviewed by our office, you will receive a performance evaluation. When to expect these evaluations depends on the quality level completed. The internal review completed by GDOT for all QLD, QLA, and UIA submissions will begin 1 month after the deliverable acceptance. For QLC projects, the internal review begins 3 months after deliverable acceptance, and for QLB projects, that begins 4 months after deliverable acceptance. And this is to give time for any additional discrepancies or markups or any other comments to come in from either the district, the utility owners, or designers. And you can expect these evaluations a short time after our internal review has begun. So to note, for all sections of this performance evaluation, a 3 is passing and meets GDOT standards. So going into section 1, which is the deliverable schedule, when all submissions are delivered on time, you will receive a 3. A reduction in score is justified when submissions are late without prior notice. If there are multiple delays or longer extension requests, that may cause a higher score reduction. A higher score is justified when all deliverables are submitted early, or there's a shortened project schedule and the consultant is able to meet the demands of a short schedule. Moving on to section 2, which is the deliverable quality. When the quality level is standard and the rounds of comments do not exceed 2 rounds, you will receive a 3 and meet GDOT standards. A higher score is justified when the budget is lower than the initial estimate and there are 1 round or less of minimal comments and there are no revisions. The budget threshold only applies to on-call SUE consultants. We are also working to be more consistent in our comments, so you will notice these type of comments after the initial review. They are new comments previously missed by the department, comments that are not properly addressed, and new comments that didn't previously apply. Any new comments that were previously missed during the initial review will not impact your scoring negatively. Continuing on with the deliverable quality. A lower score is justified when the budget exceeds 30%, there are multiple rounds of comments, 3 or more, or there are numerous comments on the poll data table. A reduction of 1 point if 20% of the polls have comments. That number is reduced to 15% for our on-call consultants, and a reduction of 2 points if 40% of the polls have comments, and that number is reduced to 35% for our on-call consultants. Again, the budget threshold only applies to the on-call consultants. Moving on to section 3, which is communication. When communication with consultant meets GDOT standards, you will receive a 3. If there is significant coordination with the department or any other office or project stakeholder, that justifies a higher score. A reduction in score results when the consultant is unresponsive, disrespectful, or uncooperative with the department or any other office or project stakeholder. A justification statement will be added to this section if there are any higher or lower ratings.
Now it is time to discuss department and suit updates. Training materials will be distributed and available by the end of the month of October. The checklist will be provided by early December. Reason being for this delay is to ensure that all appendix examples within the checklist are included and are current. Current checklists will be added to the GDOT webpage by the end of the year, and it is required for all superprofessionals to use the updated checklist by the beginning of next year. One overall department update we would like to provide is regarding railroad flagging price increase. That total is $1,900 per day. The previous price was $1,300 per day. The increase is due to internal audit findings by the railroad company. Ensure to request a permit when working in the railroad right away, and ensure that price is included, that permitted price is included in your estimate. In order to get a permit, you can simply Google railroad owner name and type in utility permit. However, if you have any issues obtaining a permit and getting additional information, you can just contact our railroad coordination team if needed. You can see their contact information here in the slide. The district utility office should be your first point of contact when you have issues coordinating with utility owners to address anomalies and discrepancies. When responding to these issues, simply stating you did not receive a response from the utility owner is not an acceptable response. As a professional, it is your responsibility to do your due diligence to use all resources for resolution. These contacts are your resource. This slide records the point of contact for each district. As we all know, positions and personnel are subject to change. So please refer to the link below for the current personnel list as time progresses. An additional resource is attending district utility quarterly meetings. During these meetings, you will have an opportunity to meet and receive appropriate contact information for various utility owners throughout the state. It is recommended for you to attend these meetings at every district since utility ownership vary per region. Use the link below for updated meeting dates and time. Now moving on to Sue Master Contract updates. The current contract expires June 30th, 2026. We are targeting by the end of this calendar year for the next contract. Just like any GDOT contract, the SUE contract will be posted on the Georgia Procurement Registry. You can also see the link that's provided to you below in this slide. We expect to maintain 4 SUE consultants, and we expect all current SUE scope of work to be included within the contract with a couple of additions, including 3D clash detection and utility reports. The typical budget per fiscal year within our contract would typically range from 4 to 6 million. Here are some tips we wanted to provide all pre-qualified consultants when applying for the on-call contract. First, to submit quality submissions on time. And secondly, to prepare a successful QC/QA process and consistently execute that plan. Thank you for investing your time in completing this training to maintain quality submissions for GDOT. We encourage you to share this training with all team members to ensure consistency. Feel free to contact any team member if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.